New day, new team, and today we have the UK-based org XL Esports and their 2021 Spring Split team to break down here, and we're going to be covering all 5 players, which include Cries, Dan, Checolad, Patrick, and Torre. And of the remaining members of this XL squad from last summer, which they were on the verge of qualifying for playoffs, narrowly missing out on the final day, it came down to Cries, Patrick, and Torre remaining in this squad, and the 2 new members joining from the ERL leagues to bolster this squad's lineup. But without further ado, let us go over each player and the stats that I have given them. So, we'll kick off the player breakdowns with Cries, the XL top laner, retaining his spot that he gained last summer split, and honestly, I don't know how well he's going to do this year with the meta shifting over to more bulkier members instead of heavy carry top laners like we saw at Worlds. But this guy plays a lot of carries, the likes of Camille's, the Gangplanks, the Jaxes, the Vlads, and even the Wukong from time to time. And the biggest note about that is he never played during the regular split an Ornn game. The only tank he played in the summer split was a Scion. Now, that's something important to note because that kind of puts a damper on the champion pool. Like, we do not know if he has enough sort of knowledge of tanks or how he's actually adapting to this new meta. As a whole, it's going to be intriguing to see how well he performs in the top lane. So, let us jump into the stat making for Cries. I'm going for his mechanics at a 4.3. Reason being is he plays obviously carries, as I've said, not really a tank player, so he's got to be more calculated in how he positions, how he team fights, and obviously looking at his stats for last season, he did exceptionally well on the likes of the Kales and the Wukongs, that he was able to get high KDAs and absolutely trounce games. As for the communication stat, going in with a 3.8. This guy has performed very well for XL during the regular split, and as such I feel he communicated well with his squad and fit the mold very nicely. 2020 accomplishments: finishing outside of playoffs. He's getting a nice juicy 2. It could have been a 3. In fact, I'm going to say 2.7. Reason being, it was last day. He could have made playoffs, but he was just barely outside of that spot. Up next, we have a player who has played in the LEC once before on Fnatic for a few games, in Dan. He's now on the XL lineup in their jungle starting position, and this is a welcomed kind of pickup for XL. Dan's been on the verge of playing in the LEC for quite a while now, having had phenomenal seasons on the rising lineup of Fnatic, and I distinctly remember this year in the NLC, the inaugural split of the NLC, his team won. He also did not drop a game in the regular season, only dropping 3 games in playoffs themselves and winning the entire event overall. That being said, that did not translate to success against the rest of Europe, as the Fnatic Rising lineup finished in 9th or around that position, as they failed to make it out of groups and were knocked out by a matchup against Mouse Esports. So, time to go over mechanicals, communication and accomplishments, stats, and for mechanics, this guy is very good. He adapts to the meta extremely well. I distinctly remember him having one of the strongest rec size in Europe, and as a whole, a player that I would say would be feared, and as such, I'm giving him a nice solid 3.5 for his mechanical skills as a jungler. He's very adaptable and good overall at what he does. Communication-wise, gotta give him 3. He's a solid communicator. I do believe he was the team captain of that Fnatic Rising lineup, but it is making a change going into LEC. Different sort of setup, so I've got to give him a 3, expecting a neutral ground for that score. And for his 2020 success, he's getting a 3.7. Winning the NLC obviously is a huge accomplishment considering it is 2 regions combined into 1, but not making out of group stages of the European Masters means that that scoreline gets dampened heavily, and as such it's only going to be the 3.7 for the new XL jungler. Up next, we have a player that many's eyes will be on for the Rookie of the Split Award in Checolad, the new XL mid laner. This guy was on the former Argo Rogue squad that won the European Masters just last split, as well as the Polish Trinity Force tournament. This guy is a very strong control mage playing mid laner, known for his Zoe and his Syndra and Ori, but this guy brings out some unique picks that we saw during the Trinity Force tournament, the likes of the Graves and the Nunus, alongside the Yone as well, being probably one of the first people to whip out a Yone in professional play that I've seen. And overall this guy performed extremely well, and looking at his match history, his last loss was in the summer main event of the European Masters against Gamer Legion, and it was the only loss since then that's happened, and that was over about 3 months ago. Now, let us go over the stats that I've given him, and oh boy, you're in for a treat here, because these stats are very, very favourable for him, and is a big reason why you should keep your eyes on Checolad during the LEC this year. So, let's go over his mechanical stat first. For this skill, I've given him a nice 4.2. Overall, I feel he's one of the strongest mid laners coming into this new split, and as a whole, he's got a lot of good competition to battle against, and his mechanical skills are quite high for me because he plays so many unique picks, as well as all the core picks that we see regular control mage players play. I still feel he's got a lot more skill if he's able to play these more unique picks and actually pick up wins with them against top tier opponents in the ERL League system. Up next, communication. It's pretty simple to give him a nice 3, not expecting anything more or less than a 3 because it's a new squad, new players playing along. You can't give him a high score for communication once basically the entire core of the roster is different to what you're used to playing. And finally, for his 2020 season accomplishments, be ready because it's the exact same score I gave Zanzara. A nice and simple 4. I can't count. Jokes. I gave him a nice 4. Obviously, winning the Polish tournament and the European Masters in the same year means that you're going to get a nice big accomplishment scoreline. Up next, we have a player who is considered very, very top tier. It is the LEC All-Pro bot laner from 2020 Summer Split, Mr. Patrick. This guy absolutely popped off for XL last year, and This year, he's looking to do the same with the same bottling partner in Torre, and oh boy, this guy's scores are going to be out of the roof, let me tell you that. So let's get into them, starting with mechanics. I've gone and given him a nice 4.5. Reason being, he is the best ADC coming into this, and you're looking to see probably the same sort of effect throughout this year. I distinctly remember his Aphelios against G2 just using a gun perfectly and absolutely macroing the hell out of them to win fights, and that's why his mechanic score will be that high. Communication, solid 3.8. Him and Torre, probably the best duo in the bot lane that didn't make it to Worlds. He's going to be communicating well with him to know where to position to allow his support to go in very gung-ho like he likes to do. And lastly, for his 2020 accomplishments, I've been nice and given him a solid 3.2, I do believe. And the reason being is, obviously, I gave Cries a 2.7 and he was on the same lineup that Patrick. Obviously, you've got to give some recognition to the All-Pro Team Award, and as such, I've given my recognition to it by giving him a high score. And our last player we're covering in this video is going to be the XL partner to Patrick in Torre. This guy had a very good 2020, doing exceptionally well in the support role, setting up engages phenomenally well for his partners in crime, and as such his mechanics are going to be at a 3.7. This guy plays engaged supports incredibly well, allowing his team to go in. Whether or not they win the team fight, it's kind of not his fault because he does his job and he does it well, and it kind of enabled Patrick to pop off this year and earn that All-Pro spot. As for communication, he is considered the leader of XL's lineup, and as such I've given him a solid 4 points. This guy knows where to be, when to be in that position, and communicate how he's going to engage with his team to get plays achieved and won for his lineup. And as such, it's why this XL bot lane is bid so heavily. As for 2020 achievements, I've got to give him the same result as Cries to 2.7. He obviously narrowly missed out on playoffs, but they still performed well, and it's not the same level of achievement that Patrick achieved last year. So, where do I feel XL are gonna finish in the 2021 spring split? Well, I've changed where I've originally had them by at least a couple of spots, because originally I did not think they were going to do as well as what they have done in the past two splits. But for this upcoming season, I've gone and stuck them in 7th, just outside the playoff spots. I feel that the squads that I've put above them are slightly stronger than what this XL lineup brings, and looking at the squad XL has, you've got a couple of new fresh faces yet to face LEC combat, similar to how Astralis are, but the quality of players they've picked up is huge, and I feel that Astralis and XL could be rotating positions as to where they actually finish in the end of the year. But as this video stands, I put them in 7th, and I feel I'm probably going to be wrong with that prediction, but XL are a squad that will probably turn it around during this year and absolutely prove me wrong. Nonetheless, that is going to be it for this team breakdown, the 2nd of 10 for the LEC. If you enjoyed this part, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new to if you want to, and I will see you guys next time, where we will be breaking down FC Schalke 04.